Good morning, everybody. I am Tech Sergeant Robin O'Bannon, United States Air Force retired. I am the founder, writer, and producer of the Promissory Note Project. Um, and I have no idea what I'm going to say right now. I have an idea of what it's supposed to be. I am usually very um, polished or articulate when it comes to presenting a lesson, preparing for that, and making sure that I have all the main points and everything. I mean, I'm a trainer and a teacher. It is something that rests within me, and I was born with that, and I have taken time in my life to hone that. But this is different because of where we are as a country, because of where we are as a people, um, because of where we are right now. And I'm going to honestly say that I've been being prepared my whole life for this time in history. And whether I realize it then or I realize it now is really irrelevant because we're here right now. I was asked a few years ago why um, create the Promissory Note Project, and I believe that the Promissory Note Project is for such a time as this. It's been there. The material has been there in some way, shape, or form for the last 2 to 3 years. It's been hard to get people's attention with it because it's just really not where they are or where they were. Um, my whole life, I never could understand why people just couldn't love one another the way they should. And I just want to say to my brothers and sisters out there, from all experiences, that I did not come to this place to be sitting here before you today having whatever this is. I didn't come by it easily. Um, I'm here because at every turn, when I could have chosen, rage, I chose love. It was a conscious choice, and often it was a difficult choice, but it was always the right choice. You know, um, People who think they know me, they see, and I appreciate this. They see a loving person, but I think that they see a naive person, a person who always has a great attitude and doesn't really cause a whole lot of trouble. But you have to understand that who I am, I've chosen, um, because I have had rage, and it almost destroyed me. Um, I've had rage from the white experience because there seems to be an inability to see suffering that's happening right in front of them. I've had rage from the black experience because I have been told, remember where you came from. And trust me, I'm trying. But I came from more than my hood in Chicago, and I came from more than this being descended from chattel slavery. I came from more than that. I came from a Father in heaven who loves me very much, and he sent me to the earth at this time in history for such a time as this. That's what I've been trying to remember. So there hasn't been white is right and black is right, because black and white is not something that God created. That is something that we have created and perpetrated, and it is a form of division and a form of, no, it is segregation, but segregation by definition is division, and that is not what he intended for his children, yet throughout human history that is what we always seem to do. um, Paul Farmer said that the root of all that is wrong in the world is the idea that some lives are worth less. And when I see the words Black Lives Matter, I think what really matters is that Black lives matter too. Yes, all lives matter, but you should take time to understand why the words Black Lives Matter have even had to be spoken, ever. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, on the west side. There's some issues going on over there, but when I grew up there, it was a safe place for me. My mom was a single mother for much of our lives. She was married, trying to find that, that life that she sought after. And the reason she sought after it was because she was born in Mississippi. There are very limited instances when she would share stories about the strange fruit hanging from trees. And if you don't know what strange fruit is, look it up. And she didn't want that. She didn't want that for her children. She didn't want that for herself. And so, like a lot of Blacks, there was a migration from Mississippi to Chicago. And I feel very fortunate that Virginia Cyrus was my mother, because she could share with me, even at the tail end of a generation, I'm the last of 8. She could share with me the hopes and the dreams that she had for me, because a parent always wants more for her kids, or their kids, than they had. But it was up to me to understand where she was coming from. I had a responsibility in that conversation. When she passed away in 2003, everything changed. And I was a matriarch of my own family, my 2 sons. And a deconstruction of me began because of all the things that had come to identify me. At that point, I was on active duty in the United States Air Force. I was a recruiter when my mom died, but before that, I was a leadership instructor, and before that, I was all kinds of other things, whatever I could do to volunteer and to serve. When my mom remarried, after being divorced when I was 10 months old from my biological father, who was also from Mississippi and whose family had also migrated to Chicago, she married a white man named Richard Raitt from Rahway, New Jersey. And we relocated to Tampa, Florida. And I think I was 8 or 9 years old. And when we got here, or we got to, well, I'm here because I'm back in Florida again, but when we got here, I was in the 2nd grade, and I began to learn something that I didn't know that I was learning. And this little girl walked up to me at school. I'm showing up in January 1977. And this little girl named Priscilla, she walked up to me, and she said, why are you trying to be white? And I didn't understand what she was talking about. See, because even though I was born on the west side of Chicago and went to an all-black school, and Probably the only white people that I saw on a regular basis were a couple of teachers. I didn't know or understand um, that there was black and that there was white, but in the South, it was a very clear delineation between the two. And that was my first experience with that. And talking like this, everybody in my family talks like this unless they choose not to. That was something that was bred into us by our mother and her mother. And the words were, you will not butcher the Queen's English. Life is hard enough out there. So don't make it any more difficult than it has to be. So I didn't understand what she meant when she said I talked white. And another thing I couldn't understand was why she looked at me with such disdain. Because when I looked at her, she was so beautiful. So that was my first introduction. And from that point, whether black or white, people have been trying to put me in my place ever since. I didn't silence anything. But what is my place? You know, am I a disabled veteran of a foreign war who bears scars inside and out that I have to carry with me for the rest of my natural life? Who wakes up with difficulties that people don't even know I'm in pain every day of my life, and a level of pain that I believe would hospitalize most people. Am I am I black? Am I as someone who is black, am I the person who carries the weight of generations of trying to figure out what's wrong with me? Why do people say that I'm so beautiful, but nobody will date me? Why is it that when I open my mouth to speak my heart, I'm told that I'm a sellout, Uncle Tom, Oreo, or cream in the coffee? Why can't I process any of this? Why do I have to carry the weight of pain and shame for generations of my brothers and sisters, black and white? Why? Guys, I know that you're in pain, and I know that this is uncomfortable, but the infection has to be cleaned out of a wound before healing can begin. A lot of you are asking, what can I do? You're looking for a petition to sign. You're looking for some legislation or something to come and change things. No, it's on you. This is on you. Sometimes we have to rest and simmer in pain to understand that that pain is there for a reason. And everybody that's looking for a quick answer, everybody that wants it to just end and be over with now, things are not going to be the same. Because what was the same then, that was not normal. I've always said that there are two experiences. At any given time, there are at least two experiences occurring simultaneously, and they're right next to each other. And one has no idea that the other one is going on. Until George Floyd. And the two worlds, they collided, they crashed. And here we are. And we think that we're looking at something that just happened. But what we're looking at is the culmination of 244 years of simultaneous experiences finally recognizing that the other one one recognizing that the other one exists, and the other recognizing that the other one exists. That's where we are, guys. This that we see right now, this is not the problem. This is a symptom of a much deeper problem that has come from doing this. And now we're like this, and we can't put our hands up to blind ourselves to the other experience any longer. So sit in that pain and rest in that pain. And understand that this is not about skin color. This has never been about skin color. It's been about an experience. An experience that we now have the power to correct. The Constitution has never been the problem. The Declaration has never been the problem. The Civil Rights Act of 1866, look it up, has never been the problem. What has been the problem is us turning away from the words and the spirit in which they were written in order to do what we wanted to do, in order to do what was easy, in order to do what was cheaper to our hearts and to our souls. But the cheap turns out expensive. So anyway, my phone keeps blowing up. And as with all messages, I'm always afraid that I've left something unsaid. I don't know who this is going to reach or who it's going to touch. But please understand that now is the time. And if you want to know what you can do, yeah, you can sign petitions. I even have a petition on the Promissory Note website. But the most important advice I can give you is to listen. Not just listen, but hear those who are coming out and speaking up that are descended from my experience. And don't counter it with stupid things like, my ancestors never earned slaves, and I suffer too, and I understand. No, you don't. But you can try and listen and hear. I have been talking till I'm blue in the face. I have actively chosen love at every turn. Every turn. I could be a completely different person if not for the fact of the love that has been implanted in my heart by an almighty God who wants to see us succeed. But we have to do it his way. And his way is to love one another. So listen. To all people, I say learn, learn, learn. Understand that there's a history in this country that's been hidden in plain sight for all of these years. And that history impacts us today. There's no quick or easy fix for this because it's been over 244 years in the making. And I'm not talking about all of the time that chattel slavery existed in the United States. I'm just talking about when the United States became the United States and then became responsible to an almighty God to fulfill its constitution in every way, shape, or form. So humble yourselves. Listen and hear. Learn all you can about the history that is hidden in plain sight in the United States. If you want to sign a petition at www.thepromissorynote.com, don't sign what you don't understand. Listen to the podcasts that have been created for such a time as this. Buy a t-shirt, knock yourself out. If you must do something, and pray. Pray to an almighty God that we have turned away from in order to do things the way we felt like doing them. Pray to an almighty God to have mercy upon this nation. Pray for all those whose hearts are at war and they so desperately are so uncomfortable that they want to do something and blame somebody. And most of all, pray and ask God, what wouldst thou have me do? And I'm going to close with this. That is how the Promissory Note Project came into being. Because in 2013, in my ignorance, I said I want to be instrumental in healing the race wound that is in America, that has come to define America. And at that point, I started in earnest on a journey to figure out how I'm part of the problem. Each of us have been indoctrinated as members of the United States. We've been indoctrinated into this. We've been indoctrinated into race, indoctrinated into segregation and justifiable division, and it's killing all of us. It's not a black problem. It's not a white problem. It's not an immigrant problem. It's a heart problem. And we can legislate our hearts out, but laws do not change the hearts of men. Because the Civil Rights Act of 1866, that's a law that's never been fully executed in the history of this country. Had it been, we'd be having a different conversation right now. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 is a promissory note that Dr. King spoke of. But again, laws do not change the hearts of men. But we've cut ourselves off from a God who can change our hearts. So take it upon yourselves to pray and ask, what wouldst thou have me do? I know that there are those of you out there who agree with me. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you, those of you who feel that they have the luxury to argue whether there is a God or not. I'm telling you that you do not get to discount my testimony, because I'm going to tell you what. If there wasn't a God, rage would have destroyed me a long time ago. And I would not be able to do this right now. So that's all I have to say right now. I'll probably be able to think of a million things after turning off this recording. The weight that I carry is great, and it's essential to my earthly mission. It's not for nothing unless I make it for nothing. At every turn, at every obstacle, at every challenge, I have chosen love. And it is a choice. And I plead with you to choose it too. Thank you.